Hello, and welcome back to Redesigning Health and Home. Today I am with Kerri, and we're so excited because today we're going to revisit an episode with an update. Back about a month ago, we posted Party Planning, one of life's big moments, where Kerri gave us all her tips and tricks about how to host a wonderful party. And she did have a big event. Well, that event has now passed, and we're going to go ahead and dive in and hear all the good details. So, Kerri, hi, how are you?
Well, Meg, I'm still in cloud nine from the weekend. It was a fantastic time, but I am a little tired today, if you can't tell by the bags under my eyes. But it was a fantastic weekend. Thanks for asking.
Oh, that's so good. Well, first, you are always so beautiful. So, oh my gosh, but I'm sure you are exhausted. Well, let's get into some of the details and how they rolled out first. How was your guest of honor? How was she feeling? Was she so excited? Tell me everything.
She was humbled by the guests that came because we had guests come from far and wide, and I think a little bit overwhelmed by the fact that these people that go back all the way from when she was in preschool, would make the trip and take the time to come to her party. She was delighted. She was excited to catch up with everyone. She looked so adorable in her pretty floral dress, and it was just truly a lovely, lovely day. At one point, she pulled me into my bedroom and she started to cry. And she said, "Mom, John called me Doc. He only used to call Dad that." And she literally broke into tears.
Oh my
I think
gosh.
just like kind of the overwhelming weight of it all. So, but yeah, in a good way. So it was so,
In a best way, because I just
yeah,
felt that so special.
yeah,
Okay,
yes.
speaking of, how
hmm
was that weather for the day? Because you said it was a beautiful day. What was it?
Well, so it was funny. I had my indoor plan and my outdoor plan. So hoping the weather was going to be great, we were going to be outside. Then I had, oh, if it's going to rain, here's the indoor plan. We did neither. We ended up doing a hybrid plan. And I do want to make a special shout out to my sister Barbara. She worked her buns off at this party, and there's just no way I could have made it as beautiful without her help. She was amazing. I hope that she gets to sleep for 3 days now because she has to be tired. But she was amazing. So we ended up having a really windy day, which is tough when you want to eat outside, right? Because imagine people's plates blowing away and all the things. So Barb had this genius idea of setting up all the tables kind of in a good flow. So our sunroom connects to our kitchen, which then there's a door out to the garage. So we literally set up 3 tables in the garage, which nobody's garage is party ready, right? So we were a little bit running around like crazy the night before trying to make it into something. So we actually set up one of the gazebos in there, and Barb said, let's put lights on it and try to make it kind of special. She set amazing, beautiful centerpieces and kind of shopped my house for candles and flowers and all these pretty things. I had tablecloths and everything and pretty dishes to put on all the tables, but she just really upped it by adding this special lighting and these beautiful centerpieces. And we just kept the door open to the garage so that it was just this kind of long flow through all these spaces, because we had 27 guests, and to seat them all in our home, we had to use all of these spaces. Well, the wind died down a little, but it was still a good thing we were inside. But we were able to at least open the garage door to have the pretty greenery from outside show through. And later in the day, the sun came out and the wind was down enough that we were able to go out and have my bonfire, which is my favorite part at the end of the party, is always to have some bonfire time. So we were able to do that. So it turned into a great day, but yeah, it changed our plans and we had to be flexible. And I think every time I have a party, that seems to be the lesson, is just be flexible. Yeah, like you have to be, you have to be flexible. So
Be flexible. Well, it sounds like you let that roll out the way it was meant to be, and that's beautiful. Now, we also had an episode where you shared some guest room secrets, and you did have some overnight guests. Did that plan roll out beautifully as well, or were there any surprises there?
No, actually, that turned out pretty well. So my sister had come on Thursday before the party, and she stayed with us for Thursday night and Friday night. But then she and her husband were going to move to a hotel for Saturday evening so that we could accommodate Jessica's friends from out of town. In the end, my brother-in-law Morley was unable to make it because of a work commitment. So my sister ended up having this hotel room all to herself, which, wasn't really in the plan, but it worked out fine. So yeah, no, I think it worked out really well. The next day they stuck around and had breakfast, and we had some people here who have specific food allergies, but I had asked them ahead of time what they could have, and then they also brought some things, so that worked out perfectly fine. And the great thing is when they're young adults, they know how to make their own stuff. It's not like they're little kids and you have to worry about making things for them. So everybody pitched in, which, just makes it even more fun when everyone's kind of involved. It worked out really well.
That's beautiful. Now, I remember when I listened to our party planning episode, you were sharing that you like to slowly unroll the fun things so everyone has
Right.
something to do, as
Right.
soon as people walk in the door. What did you do there?
Well, it was interesting because we had put on the invitation that the party started at 3 and dinner was served at 5, but people really did trickle in at different times. So Jessica's friends that were coming from Rochester, New York, their flight came in at 8 in the morning and they had nowhere to go because they were staying at our house, right? So Jessica met up with them. They went out for a brunch thing, but then they were at our house by like 12:30, right? And so I knew that too, that we had some out of town guests that were going to come a little early just so that they got a chance to connect with us. But here's the part about the flexibility thing. So I talked about the custom playlist, and how I wanted Jessica to have one, and she had no time. And then we did make a custom playlist, and I got my husband to set up the sound system, and we completely forgot to play it. So there wasn't a single song of the playlist even played. And it wasn't until the very end when I saw that he had the speaker out there that I was like, oh, we didn't even play that. But it turned out people just kind of did their own thing. And because it was windy, I set up the appetizers inside the house thinking, but no, people gravitated out to the fire pit anyway. So then I moved the food out to the fire pit, but then some people were still inside. So I ended up quick putting together like another food little munchy tray for the inside. So it really is about flexibility and just rolling with what you have. Another big surprise that happened. So the morning of the party, I had booked for both of our daughters to go get their hair blow dried and styled before the party. And they were going at different times. Just that's the way it worked out. So our youngest daughter, Jordan, she texted me and she said, Mom, would it be okay if I did a toast for Jessica? And originally I thought that maybe my husband would do the toast, but I was I just like the face you made, like immediately choked up. Just like, oh my gosh, that's so sweet. Absolutely. You can do that. And I think of the entire evening, that was probably the biggest surprise for me and probably for Jessica and her dad. She got pretty choked up giving her toast. It was not very long, but it just hit on all the beautiful, special things about Jessica and their relationship together. And there was hardly a dry eye in the room when she gave it. So that probably was one of the biggest highlights for me, was that piece of it. So that was really exciting. And then I think I mentioned to you about the signature cocktail. So Jessica decided she wanted it to be vodka lemonade, but she told me about this, what is it, like pea flower or something like that, and it's blue, and so you put it in and it's really quite bright blue, but then when you mix it with the lemonade, it turns pink. And so she thought it would be really fun to have this drink that turns colors. So I was like, great. So I filled up the mason jars with lids with just regular lemonade, and then all these shot glasses with this blue pea flower dye in the vodka. So people could have just regular lemonade if they wanted it, but if they wanted a vodka lemonade, they could pour it in and this magic was going to happen. Well, we did some trial runs, right? Because I'm married to a chemist, and I was like, let's make sure this actually works, first of all, right? Because it would be disappointing if it didn't. So you had to put a lot more pea flower stuff in there than I originally thought. So that was the signature cocktail, was this drink that turned color, and Jessica thought that was really cool. So that was fun. But yeah, I was glad we practiced it ahead of time. And then another
Yes.
surprising thing is when we got our gazebo out of the shed the night before. Some little mice had decided to get in there and chewed up the canopy, so we couldn't even use it. So there's always surprises, whether they're good or bad. But yeah, that was kind of one of the surprises, was like, oh, we didn't expect that. And then our neighbor Sue, right behind us, she comes over and she's like, would any of your Jessica's friends like to ride my golf cart? Like, just take it for a tour around the neighborhood? And that was unexpected. And Jessica was like, I would never turn down a ride on a golf cart. And so, yeah, they were taking turns riding the golf cart. And so you just have to roll with it, right?
That
And
is
I think
so
so.
fun.
Those were kind of the little bit unexpected things that happened. The food arrived exactly on time. The person who delivered it was fabulous. He set everything up. It was so good. We had way more food than we needed. I'm always worried about that. Like, oh, what if we don't have enough food? But we had way more. And one of the great things at the end was I was telling people, please take some leftovers home with you. And a lot of people did take us up on it. We just put out the Ziploc bags and people were just helping themselves to some pasta or some pulled chicken, barbecue chicken or whatever. And it was perfect. So yeah, so that was really good. It worked out well with the food.
And how about the vegetarian? Did you pick that up?
We ended up changing our caterer after the episode because my husband had told me about this company that had catered to a work event for him. And he said, oh, it was really good. And it's located just 10 minutes from us. And so when Jessica was home, the two of us went in and talked to the guy who owns it. Super great guy. And his menu spanned a lot of different things. So he had vegetarian options and he had the barbecue. So we were able to order everything from him because Pete had already had it. He told me how great it was. I actually ended up talking to my neighbor Sue about it, and she was like, oh, yeah, that is a really good place. So that turned out great because then it was just all coming from one place. The only thing I prepared was I made a charcuterie tray for an appetizer before, and that was really and the vodka lemonade. That was
Well,
really, all I had
that
to.
all sounds so great. What did you do about your parking? You were kind of nervous about that. How did that
Yeah,
fall
no,
out?
that worked out fine. So people just parked on the street. Some people parked in the driveway, but we were able to stack the cars so it made sense for people who needed to get out and that sort of thing. So no issue with the parking at all. We put out some games. I think there was only two guys that really played the games because I think the golf cart kind of became more exciting than the games. So you just never know, what it is that's going to capture people's kind of interest at the moment. Oh, this was funny. My husband he's a woodworker and as a hobby, and he made this giant chessboard. So the board itself is, I don't know, 30 inches in square, like it's big. It's really big. And he made giant pieces to go with it. And so when I had mentioned about the games, I said to him, maybe you want to put out your chess game because he doesn't get to put it out very often because it's so huge. And so he did that and he put it out by the fire pit and it turned out to be like quite a spectator sport. People were like sitting around watching people play chess. And I was like, okay, who knew? Like I wouldn't have guessed that either. So anyway, that was
Well,
fun.
especially since it was handmade beautiful. I bet
Right.
just the board
Right.
itself was
Yes.
beautiful. I would
Yes.
have probably been the same. Now,
Yes.
tell me, you were excited about your cupcakes and your pastries. How did the pickup work out? How did people receive them?
Yes. So my sweet friend Laura, who lives much closer to Hay Sugar, where we got the cupcakes, she lives quite close to there. So she had offered to pick them up on Friday and bring them. And she joined us for the balloon blowing party, which also was super fun the day before. And so she brought those. And what was sweet was for the balloon blowing party, she actually picked up an extra few little cupcakes that we cut in half or quarters actually and kind of shared with all the balloon blowers as a little treat. So she brought some extra cupcakes, which was really fun. But those cupcakes went so fast. And I had ordered a dozen, and I mean, we had 27 people, so I knew this wasn't going to be one cupcake for everybody. So I also supplemented with the little bite-sized cupcakes as well for people that maybe didn't want like a whole one. Those cupcakes went so fast and people were raving about them. So yeah, they were definitely a big highlight. There was not a full-size cupcake left on the plate. The macarons too, I think there's maybe two left. I didn't even get one, which is fine, but they were beautiful. The ones I ordered from Etsy.
Yeah.
The painting, the little painted lavenders, they looked more beautiful in person than they did online, which was awesome because you're never so sure when you order things online. So those turned out.
What was on the decoration of the cupcakes? Were they just frosted or did you have any?
So I didn't want like a graduation hat or anything like that. And these cupcakes are already very beautiful. So the raspberry ones, it's pink frosting and like stacked high with little pearl kind of candies on the top. Then we ended up ordering like a peanut butter Oreo kind that had crunchy Oreos on the top. And then the vanilla had those little shaving curls on the top in different colors. So they were already super pretty, just the way that they were. And then I added in some chocolate covered Oreos with the macarons because that was really the only chocolate on the plate. And to me, if there's not chocolate at the dessert table, like why bother?
That's a fun idea. Do they sell them just in the package or did you dip them?
So I actually normally get chocolate covered Oreos from Home Goods because they're wrapped in the beautiful shiny foil in different
Oh,
colors. But yeah, and they're super pretty. And you can get just the milk chocolate ones. And then sometimes they're mixed half and half with white chocolate and milk chocolate in the package.
okay.
The white chocolate to me is a little too sweet, so I
Are they
don't
at the
do it.
checkout
Um,
or where do you find them?
sometimes, well, Home Goods has a pretty nice food section, right? Like they've got,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, they've got
Okay.
their dips and sauces and pastas and that sort of thing. And then they do have a section that's got popcorn and cookies and that kind of stuff. So if you look in there, you can find those foil wrapped ones, which are really pretty. But I did not find them at Home Goods when I went specifically to look for them. So I ended up just getting regular fudge dipped Oreos from Walmart. That's where I got them and
Perfect.
just kind of mixed them in there. And they were delicious. I'd never had them before, but for chocolate lovers
Awesome.
like me, they were great. Yeah. So it was great.
Okay, so you had your catering that all was delivered on time. Everybody enjoyed their food and
Uh-huh.
desserts. How did that then roll into your bonfire? Was there a big time gap or was it right away?
So after everybody ate their dinner, we're sitting around visiting. I was quite surprised how quickly the wine went. So I don't know how it is for you, but you kind of start to know like who likes what kind of wine or a specific kind of beer if you've known them for a while. And so I have a list on my phone in my notes app where I kind of keep a note about like who likes what kind of wine, which is very handy. Okay, great. So we have quite a selection of white wines and red wines and certain beers that I know people like and that sort of thing. But apparently I needed more bottles of each kind of wine. And like, I don't know how you know that ahead of time. I
Yeah.
have seen that there's individual ones. Like you can get a mixed pack of more like individual sized wines. I've never got those, but I think I need to look into it because otherwise you end up, if they don't empty the bottle, you end up with these half empty bottles of wine. And then what the heck are you supposed to do with them? It's just Pete and I. What are we going to drink all this wine afterwards? Like, not likely. So anyway, so that's something I probably could have planned a little bit better was the whole wine selection thing.
Yeah,
But
that's a
anyway.
tough one to plan. What did you do for glassware for that?
So for glassware, I have a mix of wine glasses and then
Hmm,
just kind of tumblers. As I mentioned, the lemonade was in mason jars with lids, which is kind of fun.
so
And then people
cute.
could just add. And I just put those in a big, huge ice bucket full of ice. They were all refrigerated before anyway. So I had pre-chilled all the drinks except for the red wine, of course, in the fridge. So everything was already chilled and then was just moving it to either the cooler or to this big ice bucket. So that worked out fine. So after people kind of had their dinner and their wine and were visiting and everybody's having their dessert, once we told them dessert was there, we added a little bit of watermelon for anybody that, just wanted something that wasn't super sweet. And then at that point, I think I said, let's move to the bonfire. And so pretty much everybody did. I'm trying to think if anybody left at that point. I think we had two guests that had a flight they had to catch, and so they kind of left. But everybody went out to the bonfire, and that was super nice. And asked them to fill up their beverages before they headed out. And somebody had brought things for s'mores, and so they were doing that. And yeah, so it was just nice just to visit. It got pretty chilly, so we definitely needed pretty much every blanket that I have in the house we took out, and now they all smell like fire, so I have to I have to wash them all. But it was such a busy weekend with Jessica's graduation ceremony that I haven't done that yet, but I will get to it. So yeah, so that's when we
Wow.
transitioned out to the fire pit. And I think the first guests arrived around 12:30 and the last guests left about 11, and then we had some that stayed over.
That is perfect. Now, I know when we were first talking about the preparation, I asked you about if people brought things that maybe you weren't expecting. Did anyone offer or just show up with anything that was a delight?
Well, I did have some people ask, is there anything I can bring? Is there anything I can bring? I said to you, let people bring what they want to bring, which was fine, but they didn't specifically say, oh, I want to bring, this kind of food or whatever. But my next door neighbor, Kira, she brought this giant jug of the most delicious, hmm, I think it was like a mixture of maybe like lemonade, but also had some LaCroix in there. And so it wasn't super
Oh,
sweet. And she put a ton of ice. It was already chilled. And that was a big hit because it was also such a beautiful color. It was like this dark ruby red color. And so, yeah. And I think it was pretty much drained very quickly. So that was a surprise, but people really loved it. It was a huge jug that she brought. So
that's so
it was so
nice.
sweet of her to bring that. It was so fun.
Was there anything else anyone brought?
Just so many lovely cards and a few very thoughtful gifts for Jessica. And everybody brought just a very celebratory spirit, which I think was the biggest gift of all. It was just so sweet. A couple of people commented on what a nice mix of people it was because the photo ladder that we did do, we ended up doing it almost as a timeline. I need to send you pictures because you guys are in there a few times. But we did it, from when Jessica was born in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, down to the current. So every shelf of the ladder was a different location that we lived. So it was kind of a timeline, but also like geographically where Jessica has lived and that sort of thing. And it was just really interesting to see all the way back from when Jessica went to preschool, right? Teresa and Wade and their kids, they attended, and all the way to today, right? The friends and family that she has in her life now, and just to see these people come and actually, attend. And we had people from Texas and Rochester, New York, and just to make that journey, it was just, I don't know, very heartwarming, very touching that they would make that journey. Yeah, I'm
So
getting choked up.
special.
I'm getting choked up just thinking about it. So,
Oh my gosh. Just hearing about it is just
yeah. And
incredible.
some of the really sweet notes that people wrote in the cards. And Jessica and my brother-in-law Morley have this inside joke. It was something about how they would definitely donate a kidney to one another. It was some inside joke. I wasn't even there for that. But then inside the card, Morley wrote something about, I wouldn't donate a kidney to you, but if I ever get kidney stones, I'll donate those to you or give those to you or something funny. And then as part of her gift, they gave her the operation game, the little kids game where you try to pinch out the little parts of the body and it buzzes and the little guy's nose lights up. And so just some thoughtful and kind of funny things like that was really cute.
That is fantastic. Well, I think one of the last questions I want to ask you was when I asked when we were first talking about this, how do you find a way to enjoy the party yourself when you've got so many moving parts and you've got food and guests and drinks and maybe even worrying about does the bathroom have toilet paper? Were you able to fully enjoy the experience or did you have
I will say, because you asked me that question, I extra focused on that. And I thought I'm going to do everything I can to be able to take the time to enjoy it. And I feel like I did a much better job this time than I ever have before. I would highly recommend having an amazing sister like Barb who comes and works her behind off for you so that you
Rent a
can.
barb.
Yeah, exactly. Rent a barb. You can give me a call and I'll give you her number. I don't know what she charges, but
Yeah.
she was just so amazing. I can't even describe how helpful she was, and that gave me the opportunity. And she kept hounding me right around noon. She's like, go take your shower. Like, stop doing what you're doing. Get out of here. Go take your shower and get ready. And so I was able to do that. And so I felt, because I had mentioned to you before, I'm not good at that. So I was able to get myself ready and presentable so that when the guests came, I just put an apron over my dress so I didn't ruin my dress, and was able to really kind of visit. And then if you have some amazing friends like Barb and McKinley who do your dishes for you, like I came in and they'd done my dishes and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what are you doing? And stop doing the dishes. And they're like, oh, it's the least we could do. And, and I'm like, please stop doing the dishes. But no, they wouldn't. So just the people were just also amazing. And we last minute needed a card table and some chairs, and neighbor Sue offered, and a couple of the guys that were guests ran and got them, and just everybody's happy to help out. So it turned out really well. And I will say, because I told you last time that it didn't matter if people liked my balloon arch. People loved my balloon arch.
It was beautiful. How did
Well,
you roll? How did you do that? Did you have Jess meet every guest and then get a picture, or was it just organic how
so
people used it?
it was a little bit organic, I would say, but we did make a point to point out the balloon arch because it was going to be so windy. We were just like, we cannot put this thing outside. Like, first of all, it was huge, and the last thing you want is popping balloons, or things blowing over, because it was attached to a frame, and I was afraid the whole thing was going to blow over. So we put it in the house and set up a couple tripods for people to put their phones on if they wanted to. And what was interesting is the ladies that helped blow the balloons up and put it together the day before. So my neighbor Sue and Kira and my friend Laura and Barb, because they had like an invested interest in it, they were like, come and see the balloon arch and come get your picture taken at the balloon arch. So we were able to get lots of pictures. And what was nice is the guests that came early from Rochester, they were able to get pictures when they were fresh right away. And so, yeah, just kind of rolled out, and lots of great photos with Jessica and different combinations of friends. And so that was really fun. And our next door neighbor has two boys, and Parker wanted to make sure that he got a picture in front of the balloon arch with his mom. So it was cute that way. It's still in my family room. Need to pop probably 200 balloons. So I know it's going to be painful. We took all the flowers out because a lot of them belonged to my sister Barb and sent them home with her. But now I've got all these balloons to pop, because what else am I going to do with it? I don't know. What do you do with the balloon arch?
Yeah, gosh, that will be painful because of all the hard work
Mhm.
and care and
Yes.
friendship that went into that.
Yeah.
Well, in the long run, I remember you were saying, even for the guest room and the party planning, that it's truly all about the people
Mhm.
and how they're feeling and the experience that they have.
Mhm.
Would you say that that still was the case here at the end of it all?
Yeah, for sure. And just the hugs at the end as people were heading out, and the nice text messages. And now I've got a phone full of these photo memories, and Jessica has on her phone, and Jordan. And it was truly it was a magical day. It really was. And did it go by too fast? It always does. It always does seem to. But I'm really glad that you asked me that question, because it did really put it at the front of my mind. Is I need to make it a priority to try to just see everyone and visit and not worry about running the dishwasher. And so just, I'm glad you asked me that. So thank you for asking me that. I wish that you
Well,
had been able to make it. Would have
I
been so
know,
great.
same, same. Well, we wish Jessica the very best and are
Thank you.
so excited for you and your family. Huge congratulations. And it sounds like job well done. Amazing. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
sharing all the details of your fabulous event. And I'm
absolutely.
so glad that, you went with the flow, and it sounds like things just rolled out just the way it was meant to be. So thank you so much, Kerri.
Thank you for asking. I appreciate the conversation, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.